Welcome to day 8. So I've done a little bit of shopping, and what I have is a 300 km/h Speedo, and as you know the tacho is knackered in the car, so this hopefully will fix that problem. I bought some original OEM washer jets. The ones that I had in there were just there for getting it registered. I bought a bus kit, and to go with it, a steering wheel. It's a nice suede steering wheel. Very tasty. There's a little yellow marker up the top there. And I have a Turbosmart 2-stage boost controller, which I like because then I can have my little happy switch in the car and have it on a small boost when driving around, and then when I want to give it some stick I flick my happy switch and boost her up. Now I did buy a pillar pod, but I'm a fucking pillet. What I did was I actually bought one for a left-hand drive. Doesn't work on this side. So I'm going to try something first, and if that doesn't work then I will have to look at other avenues. Basically what I want to try is take out the little socket, little cubby hole just below the stereo, so it's just a single DIN. I want to take that out and see if I can fabricate a 3-hole gauge holder and have the gauges in there rather than this, because actually when I tried putting this on the right hand side on the pillar, it was actually interfering with the steering wheel. There was only about that much gap, so I don't think that's the way to go. And the one that sits on the dash means having to cut holes in the dash to actually make it look good, so I'm not going to bother with that. So I'm going to try this first, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. Okay, this is just for posterity. 174,937, that's the original one. This is a new one, 197,942. So that's just so I know how many K's difference that one is to that one, and then I know around about when I need to change timing belt, which is probably going to get done before that anyway, because when I pull the motor down to forge it, it'll get done anyway, so irrelevant, but I just wanted that for posterity. Okay, cluster is in. I just went for a drive just to test it down the road. Speedo seems to be accurate and the tacho is working well, so awesome. That's a good result. The only thing I'm a bit concerned about is that the fuel gauge was actually lower on the other one. The one that came out, it was close to empty, but this is showing that. So I'm a little bit concerned which one's right. Time will tell. Probably going to have to drive around with a jerry can in the back just in case. So this is what I've found. Here's the gauges that I'm using, and it should fit. So what I'm thinking of doing is taking this pocket out, and I've got some plastic here. I know it's dirty, but I'll clean it up and paint it. What I'm thinking of doing is a panel straight across here, this out of course, doing a V groove in it and then folding it over, and then coming down the outside of this, because there is a small amount of distance between here and there. So if I come out of here, the thickness of the plastic should line up very close to that, so there won't be any gap between this and the fascia panel. And then come down here and screw into here. That's the plan. So basically it's going to come up here, across there, and down there. Now there won't be anything between this point here and this point here, so I will have to make something up to give this here some rigidity. Probably won't need it because we have these being tied down into the lower half of the dashboard, but I'm going to do it just in case, and then that way I can put the 3 holes in. 1, 2, 3, fit all 3 gauges in here, and then that way I don't have to piss fart around with getting another 8-pillar pod. Oh well, fuck my life. Well, this is the Boss kit. It's actually non-hikers, non-airbag. Mine doesn't have an airbag, no biggie, but it's non-hikers, which means the ring for the hikers is not there. There's actually a big ring with just a single solid piece of plastic there, so it's actually not designed for this steering wheel. I've taken that ring off just to have a look at this, see if I can do anything with it, and I've come to the conclusion that I can't, so I need to order a Boss kit. The listing on eBay just basically said that it was for an R33 for my year 93 series 1, and what it didn't state is that it is non-hikers. Nowhere in the listing, I've just checked. So I bought myself a paperweight because I don't think anybody's going to buy that. Oh well, move on to the next one I suppose, which will be sorting out the gauges. So this one's a dead end until a new Boss kit arrives. Shit happens. Alright, I had a bit of a brain fart while I was doing something else, and I thought maybe I can get that to fit. Well, I ground off all the ridges that were on here, and it actually fits in there, and it doesn't turn the hiker's ring, which means the wheel can stay straight, sort of like having a hiker's lock bar, but not, and at least then I can use it until I get the right one. I'm eventually going to be locking the hikers out anyway, so whether I get a hiker's lock bar and keep this, remove that, the hiker's ring, don't know, but that's going to work for now. He's actually contacted the return to center for the indicator, so there's like 3 little dots on there, and on the back of this there's 3 little holes, and it actually sits on there and then turns that little plastic ring in the center and then cancels the indicator. So that's working. I'm going to give this a go. It might work. As long as that hiker's ring doesn't move, everything should be fine, because then the wheels won't skew with. So I'll give that a go for now. But this is going to be a paperweight anyway, so I haven't really done any damage. So I'm not going to try and sell that. It was only 65 bucks. Fuck it. Give it a go. And there it is. Sweet. I've got no horn, which is obvious because there's no wire going into that where it meets in the hiker's ring. But I'm not American, so I'm not going to sit on the horn just, you know, for the fuck of it, because that's what they do. But hey, that'll do until the new one rocks up. There we go, I'm happy with that. So now what I'll do is I'll measure and cut the holes, drill the holes for the bolting of this in, and then fit the gauges and then give it a trial fit. Then if all goes well, I'll disassemble it and paint it. But what I'll do first is trial fit, and then get back to you once it's sitting in situ. There we go, that should work. There is a little bit of play in the hole there, so I can get it right, but I'm just hoping that with the gauges in there it won't flex too much, because I can't brace the back of it because the gauges are too deep, so I can't put anything across the back. So I'm just going to put them in there, and hopefully with the tension it should straighten that up, but that should work. And at least they're not up here in the way. Oh well, time to paint. And while I'm waiting for the paint to dry, I will install the boost controller in the engine bay. I won't hook it up yet, but I also need to run a wire from my little happy switch here into the engine bay to turn the boost controller on and off. So first things first, scuff it up, paint it, prime it, paint it, then engine bay. Be back. Alrighty then, that's them in, wired up to a connector. So I'll need to sort out 5 wires, positive, negative, light, sensor 1, sensor 2, because I have a, what do we got here, air fuel ratio on that one, fuel pressure on that one, boost on that one. This is where we're at. I've got 2 problems, but so far that's working fine, that's working fine, and that is actually working fine. I've gone for a drive already, so that's all good, and the light dim also works as well. But here's the problem. This is supposed to have a special little T attached, so I can't actually set this up at the moment. I need to get hold of that T, but other than that, all the wiring is all nice and neat. I've taken that one across to the fuel pressure sensor. I've also checked there's no fuel leaks, so everything's good. But I'll show you what the issue is. Okay, there's supposed to be this little T here, and what I have found is that it has a spring in it and a ball bearing. Now I rummaged through all my shit that I've got, and I managed to find this, which is actually what I wanted, but I don't have the spring and I don't have the bearing in there. So also rummaging around, I found the spring, but I don't have a bearing for it. So I've got to work that one out, but also I'm not sure on the tension of the spring. So that could be a very light spring, or it could be a heavy spring like this one is. But it fits in the nipple. So I need the ball bearing to sit there, and then that then goes in here. And what it does is it provides a small, you see the little hole there, and what it does is it pushes up against there and blocks the air off. So when you set your boost pressure, that will either bleed it off and hold that wastegate shut, or when you get to a certain boost pressure, it will push that bearing back, allow the air to creep in, and you get the idea. So I can't install that at the moment, so I've just sort of set that aside until I can find a ball bearing, and then at least give it a go. If that doesn't work, what I need to do then is either source a T, one of those T's, or buy a completely brand new unit. I actually got that unit, that Turbosmart unit, second hand for, I think it was about $60, $65, something like that. Because all the other boost controllers, the two-stage or dual boost controllers, electronic, people are wanting shitloads of money for. So I was going to try and avoid that if I can, but depends on what happens now. I might just have to bite the bullet. But I prefer this sort of thing where I can actually, it gives me something to do on the weekend, so I can work on the car and keeps me busy. But for now, that's about all I can do. The only thing I'm going to do next is just put in the wiper washers, and that's it. I had to buy some new mirrors for my bike because some stupid mole hit me on a major highway moving across without even looking and almost ran me off the road. So she broke my mirror in the process, and when I pulled up next to her and gave her a gesture of like, what the fuck, the maggot had the audacity to flip me off and then go speeding off into the sunset. Her fault. She broke my mirror, flipped me off, pissed off. So yeah, anyway, dribbling. So I need to replace my mirrors. Also going to give the bike a service and change or lubricate, clean and lubricate the chain. It's making a little bit of noise. So that's going to take the rest of my day up, and that's about it for this weekend. So that'll be day 8 down, and that's it. I'm going to call it. So until next time, enjoy, have fun, stay safe.